This is Laura Vanderkam. I'm a mother of 5, an author, journalist, and speaker.
And this is Sarah Hart-Unger. I'm a mother of 3, a practicing physician, and blogger on the side. We are 2 working parents who love our careers and our families.
Welcome to Best of Both Worlds. Here we talk about how real women manage work, family, and time for fun. From figuring out childcare to mapping out long-term career goals, we want you to get the most out of life. Welcome to Best of Both Worlds. This is Laura. This is episode 219. We'll be talking about all things fall, how to get cozy and enjoy the season. So I know we have had the pumpkin spice talk before, Sarah, but for our listeners who might have missed that, are you into pumpkin spice?
Are you suggesting that there are listeners that do not closely listen to
everything we say? Well, it's just possible. I'm throwing that out there that maybe somebody is just coming to this podcast for the first time and hence missed our previous pumpkin spice latte discussion.
Well, if so, welcome. I hate to dismay you, but neither of us seem to be pumpkin spice fans. We're sorry.
Yes, but you like other things pumpkin.
Yes. So I am not anti-pumpkin by any means. And I still would like to try the pumpkin cold brew or pumpkin cream cold. Laura's shaking her head. I had heard through the grapevine that if you weren't a huge pumpkin spice latte fan, then that would be a good alternative. So I got to try it at least once.
Okay.
My sister actually says she will get the pumpkin spice latte, but with just 1 pump instead of, I think, the usual 3. And she says that actually makes it good.
So it's
and not
more
too sweet.
Subtle pumpkin flavor. Okay. That's probably a good idea.
So maybe I'll try that. But we actually, I think this is the second year in the row we did this. We went to Trader Joe's and just made it an activity to buy everything pumpkin that we saw, basically. We attempted to do this in late September or mid-September, and it was too early. There were only a couple of things. We went back again right before, I think it was the very end of September, and it was pumpkin extravaganza everywhere. So many options. We came home with pumpkin samosas and pumpkin, sauce for pasta and pumpkin salsa and pumpkin ice cream and, of course, some pumpkin cookies. And the kids even liked the pumpkin spice hummus, but I thought that was crossing the line.
Yeah. and that other major thing of fall, how about boots? How do you feel about boots?
Boots are not a fall item around here. They are a winter item. And even then, it's questionable. I really enjoy boots, especially the short ankle ones. And the thing is, since our boot wearing season is so short here, our boots don't get a lot of wear. So I don't have a reason to replace them very often. So I'm often finding myself wearing 5-year-old boots that look fairly new. So I hope I can still get away with wearing the ankle ones because I think they're really cute and I have 2 comfortable pairs that I like.
That's cool. Yeah. So up north, the season for wearing nice boots, because you wouldn't want to wear nice boots out in the snow, right? So there's the distinguishing different categories of boots. So there's the cute leather or suede boots. And those are definitely a fall thing because in January when there's ice and snow, that would just ruin your boots. So then you have to wear boots, as in snow boots, if you wish to wear boots. And that's a different matter entirely. I do own the big snow boots, but they're not particularly cute. So I don't know. I never wind up really wearing my boots. I own a few pairs of boots, but it always seems like more trouble than it's worth because if it is fall, you tend to sort of wear just the slip-ons or something that are right by the door still. That's what I do. I guess there will be a point where it is too cold to wear those because I'll want socks, but it will be not snowing yet. So I guess at some point in November, the boots may make their appearance. We'll see. We'll keep you all posted on the boot season and when it is. But yet, this episode is going to just be a discussion of all things fall. We'll talk about some of our fall fun activities, about our favorite ways to get cozy for the season. And then we will pivot into a way to sort of use Q4 to set yourself up, that's Q4, to set yourself up for a great next year, to sort of really bring it home at work, particularly for those people who are facing down end-of-year performance reviews and that sort of thing. So that will be our discussion today. So, Sarah, fall is not really fall, though, in Florida, is it?
It is not, but I feel like I've actually successfully worked on a reframe. I used to get really mad in the fall because everyone was showing like crisp mornings and leaves. And I'm like, we don't have any of that. This isn't fair. But okay, this is like my eighth fall here. So I'm like, settling in, kind of feeling a little more like a Floridian. And instead of fall being crisp and involving leaves, it's more like, it's not disgusting out, like, which is actually a celebration in its own
In its
right. I
own
mean,
way, yes.
even if it's kind of more the temperatures that you might think of as summer up north, the humidity is definitely a little bit less, and it is more pleasant to spend extended amounts of time outside now than it was even a month ago. And I feel like that is worth celebrating. And I just kind of know that it's like that trade off, right? Like we have a very lovely December and January in which we can just wear boots ornamentally and don't need to walk through ice and snow. And so, the trade-off for that is that our fall is not super cool and crisp. But I think I've come to a more positive place with my acceptance of our type of fall that we have.
Yes, exactly. Even if it doesn't involve the sweaters and pumpkin spice latte and boots. But
And you can still do lots of fall themed things, as we're going to talk about. You don't need to have the crisp weather and the leaves. Of course, that's a bonus. And I do hope that we weren't able to get it together this year with the uncertainty of COVID and stuff. We'll talk later. We are going to do some family travel later, but I do have a dream of doing a specific leaf trip, like just 4 days, like in the Berkshires or something, where we just fly maybe to Albany or something and just ogle the leaves and walk on some trails and enjoy that traditional fall, drink some cider and fly home. So that will happen. That is a dream of mine. Not this year, but eventually.
Eventually. Well, that's cool. So I make a fall fun list every year. I post on my blog for people who read lauravanderkam.com. I posted that a couple weeks ago because the truth is it can be very easy to blow through the peak weekends of fall. It's really only about 3 weekends where the leaves are at their peak before they pretty much fall off. And then you're just into winter for the rest of that several month experience. So if you want to enjoy the fall activities during peak fall times, you kind of have to plan ahead. And that's especially true since fall is also peak kids sports season. And so we wind up with a lot of these days, these weekend days where there's like a soccer game at 2. And so it like cuts up the day. So you can't necessarily go for a long trip. Well, at least not with everyone. You'd have to split the family, which you can do. But if you want to say go for a hike somewhere, you kind of have to look ahead and say like, oh, well, here's the one weekend where baseball and soccer happen to both be on Saturday. So we should take Sunday and go do a family trip or something like that. Or, this is the soccer game is at 4:00. And so in fact, you wouldn't have to be thinking about it till 3:30. And so if you got up on time, you could go do something, that involved driving an hour to go hike in the leaves. We live about 90 minutes from the Poconos, which is not huge mountain range, but enough to have the sort of fall mountain color sort of thing. So, it's all good. We've got our plans. We're actually going up to, well, we can talk about our fall travel in a second, but that we'll be definitely going to see some leaves. It's just even getting out in nature, as Sarah was saying, like just having some more outside time during this mild weather. I took 3 of my kids for a short hike on a nearby trail on Saturday morning. And it was just cool to see the slightly changing colors and feel that crisp air. So what's on your fall fun list, Sarah?
Yeah, our fall fun list. Well, okay. Oh, I'm trying to figure out which part of this paper it's on. Okay, it's right here. So the first one is that we are definitely going to do a little play date at a nearby quote unquote pumpkin patch. I'm sure they don't grow the pumpkins there, but maybe they bring them in. It's actually a strawberry farm in South Miami, and it's great. They have like a whole like food area, and normally you can pick strawberries, but they basically turn it into like a fall festival. So, like you, I have to look ahead on the calendar. For us, it's less, most of our sports are actually fairly early. So we haven't gotten into the like afternoon games cutting up the entire day yet. But for us, it's our call schedule. So there's like limited weekends where we could actually do something all together. And so we already figured out the day we're going to go to that. One thing we love to do that's really simple is that Genevieve especially enjoys looking at everybody's Halloween decorations. So again, since the weather is less disgusting, just taking a walk around to, rate everybody's different, our neighborhood gets really into it. So look at everybody's decor. Obviously, the process of getting costumes and all the Halloween stuff can be spread out or not, depending on your style. It's never been my favorite holiday, but I've gotten more into it as the kids, I think, have gotten older, and it allows for a little bit more socializing. Last year, we did Halloween with my daughter's best friend and their mom, and that was great. And then I guess on our list included is fall travel. So, Thanksgiving is fall, and Thanksgiving is actually not that far away if you really look at the calendar and think about it. So, this will be our first family plane trip since the pandemic, but we are all going to North Carolina to hang out with my family. And then we're actually flying back in time for Thanksgiving because my husband's working. So, we're going to have like a 2 family Thanksgiving this year. And I'm very excited about it.
That's fun.
I'm hoping the kids will be vaxxed by the time we get on the plane, but if not, we are still going and they'll just mask up and we'll be okay.
They may have some natural immunity too, right? So
let's hope those antibodies are
good and strong. Yeah. We're going to, when this airs, we will have been, but we are going to my brother's wedding in upstate New York, which is going to be peak fall weekend. We had to book our Airbnb far ahead of time. We're staying in this old farmhouse and going to their outdoor wedding. And so hopefully the weather will be good and the leaves should be changing and it'll be very nice. We're also going to do some apple cider events and apple picking while we're there, even though apples are more of an early fall fruit, as we find out every year. This year I got my Honey Crisps on the right time. It was an August picking fruit, not an October picking fruit, but whatever. Apples are associated with fall, so they still have some going. It's just not the ones that I like to eat. But anyway, we'll do apple picking in upstate New York, so that should be really beautiful. I'm excited about that. I always like the leaf peeping trips, and definitely want to do more of those in the future as well, as you do, and go to the Berkshires or Vermont very early. And my husband and I, knowing each other, we went on a long weekend trip to Vermont in October and went camping. It was kind of fun to see all the leaves and white farmhouses, very picturesque. So that was good. Yeah, we're doing some Boo at the Zoo type things. Have to figure out where we're going to go hike. We go to this place called Hawk Mountain often. That's about an hour and 20 minutes from here. That has some great trails. The Appalachian Trail actually goes right past it. But they also have some really kid-friendly trails like this river of rocks where you walk down a hill for about 15, 20 minutes, and then you get these rock fields. It's just like a river that turned into boulders. I don't know if boulders came down at some point in the Ice Age, but it's just a sea of rocks. And of course, the kids love to climb all over the rocks, and it's kind of a fun thing for them to do. So we might wind up there. I have aspirations to take a coastal fall trip on my own, probably, because I'll have to do it on a weekday, I think, to drive down maybe to Cape May and see the changing leaves along the way, and then the coastal fall landscape, maybe some birds, although again, the bird migration is earlier. So these things don't line up quite as you wish, but that should be fun too. So I'm looking forward to that. And then there's the idea of, well, let's take our ad break real quick and we'll be right back.
We're back, but I have a question about your coastal trip. I know you were talking about doing like a writing retreat. Would this be the writing retreat, or would this be just for fun?
Ooh, now that is an interesting idea. I would have to get myself together to make that happen, but that could actually be really cool. Maybe I will float that idea. I had thought I might do it in early November, but if I get myself going on book revisions, I can probably be done by late October. I'm trying to sort of time early November can still work. The first weekend of November does still have good leaves. And that's when our family photos are being taken. So yeah, that could possibly work. I have to, that's a good question. I will write that down. Good idea. Maybe I can combine it.
Well, I don't want to shortchange the fun.
No, but I mean, it'd be great to sort of see it and then have a place to go to and then work for 2 days uninterrupted on editing this manuscript, which is what I really need to do around this point. So we're talking about all things fall. And of course, there's the fall fun stuff. There's also just like little things you can do to embrace the cozy, whether it is cozy weather or not. Do you guys have a fireplace? Is that even a thing in Florida?
We did in Miami Beach,
Oh, okay.
which is crazy. And I don't know if it's like a climate change thing. Like, did that house was built in 1934? Was it significantly cooler? I'm not sure. Or was it just like all these Northerners moved from North and couldn't imagine life without a fireplace? And then we had like a little gas thing in there. I think we lit it like once.
Yeah.
Maybe never. I don't know.
Well, I mean, especially you have one that doesn't really like do heat, right? It's just like electric. You see flame looking things if you have your, cozy feeling. I love fireplaces, except, it's a lot of trouble to start an actual fire. We are converting to gas fireplaces in our new home. Although then we had to do ventless in some of them because the chimneys are old enough that bringing them up to code to do the vented normal gas fireplace was just going to be ridiculous. Like we had multiple companies come in and some claimed they couldn't even do it. So you may ponder that if you are ever seeing people have gas fireplaces in 1900s houses, you might ask what happened. If they're ventless or if they just ignored the code.
Where does it go? Like, where did the...
Well, I don't know, but it doesn't have to have the same, they're smaller flames, I mean, among other things. So it's not quite the same experience, although you can make it look slightly more real through the way the logs are designed. But anyway, that's what we have for that. So it'll be nice and cozy. I have my sweaters just because it's cold. My scarves, I like wearing my scarves. I like to go to cute little coffee places in fall. That's always a good sort of fallish kind of thing. I'm looking forward to meeting somebody for coffee at a cafe. That's a really cute one. What else? Yeah, like there's some restaurants that sort of have fireplaces and, sort of darker decor. It's kind of fun to seek those out as well.
Yeah, steakhouse is definitely like much more of a fall winter vibe and less of a summer. I totally agree. There's definitely a whole look, right? Like the plaid and even just getting out your blankets, even if you don't really need them, having some candles around. I'm totally going to get some candles for this season just to have something, hopefully like a little spicy smell going on or something. We made a list of Halloween movies and I like taped them to the bottom of the TV with some washi tape. They were having fun, like checking them off and at least, looking for stuff to watch. If anybody, there's a repository of them on one of my blog posts.
Oh, nice.
Find it.
Yeah. I've been doing fall themed puzzles. I'm doing one that unfortunately I'm now like in the stage where there's 100 pieces of blue sky and I am just not feeling it at the moment. So we will see if I actually finish that one or might use the excuse that we're getting our real estate photos taken soon. It will just like clear it off the table. Oh, couldn't finish. Oh, well, didn't feel like doing the 100 pieces of blue sky. I had an idea for a story that would be about a character who did the blue sky parts of puzzles first and what that would say about you if you were the sort of person who didn't leave it toward the end. But we'll see. And I may attempt NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. We'll see again if I finish the book that I'm actually contracted to write.
Now, if I knit, this would be a wonderful time. And by the way, this is a verbal hello to whoever the listener was that said hi to my sister the other day.
So Sarah's sister owns Warm and Fuzzy Yarn in Cary, North Carolina, which you should all go visit if you are in a yarn needing mood and happen to be in Cary, North Carolina. You can also order online, right?
But you have to also tell her like how you found her.
Yes,
that's fun.
So yeah, we just embrace all things fall and the Q4. I mean, Sarah does Q4, Q5 because she does quintiles, but it's just such a festive time of year because you start around here, especially with the fall color, and then come into the holiday season. And so I know every part of the year has its own special aspects to it, but I really like this quarter because of that. And so pivoting from talking about fall per se, when you think about it as Q4, many people have sort of business associations or goal setting for the upcoming year associations with Q4. And this can be a great time to think about that. We will do, don't worry, a whole goals episode. We always do as a nod to our lovely expert on planning here who, I don't know, we could do like 10 goal episodes, right, for you?
That would be a lot. I really enjoy our goals episodes though, and we tend to get like other people like them too. So we got to keep them
It can
going.
be a nudge for all of us to set our goals. I often do because Sarah says we're doing our goal setting episode. So then I set my goals for the next year. It's all good. But if you are, ending up the year, this can be a great time to think about how can I end the year strong, right? And thinking about like what sort of professional goals did I set myself for the year? And are any of those or aspects of those still obtainable now? Because for many places, that do say annual performance reviews in late November, curiously enough, what you do in October winds up being far more important for the review than what you did in February, even if they are of equal importance overall for your company's performance. It's just that humans have this recency bias. They're like, oh yeah, look, she just did this. And so, it winds up mattering more. Although Sarah, you get your review in June, right? So I guess that doesn't apply
Yeah,
to
so
you.
every company is probably different. Our fiscal year runs from May to April, and so all of our reviews are in June. So I guess I could say the same thing about the spring. Got to complete all the projects. Everyone's going to remember my spring productivity. That's true.
It is so true. But you can use that to your advantage, which means that if you said like, oh, well, what could I do in October and early November that would really make people say, ooh, she had a good year? I mean, maybe it's that you produce some document about, your white paper on your particular area of expertise and you circulate it around the organization. People are like, oh yeah, she's got thought leader aspects of that. Or, maybe it's a client you've been really sort of nurturing along and then you can really kind of push them to like now convert into something because people are like, oh yeah, she's bringing in the business. All sorts of things like that. Or if you're looking to start a new lunch and learn series at your organization or launch that mentoring program or whatever it is that you've been thinking of doing, now could be a really good time to make that happen. And often, these things don't take nearly as much time as you might imagine. It's just they're often hard to make happen because they're never urgent. But if you said, okay, I'm going to devote X hours for the next 4 or 5 weeks to them, you'd probably be pretty far along by that point.
Definitely. There's enough time left in the year, you can get a lot done. If you wait until December to look at to reevaluate your 2021 goals, it's probably too late. But now is a great time because you can probably finish up some of that stuff that you were so excited about in the beginning of the year.
Or personal goals too, right? Like if you were, looking to run more regularly, you could actually sign up for a Thanksgiving turkey trot or one of those Jingle Bell 5Ks or something, and could in fact teach yourself to run 3 miles by 6 to 8 weeks from now. I mean, that's not an undoable thing for people who are in reasonable shape. So yeah, I mean, that would be totally doable. Or there's lots of fitness challenges that are 30 days and there's more than 30 days left in 2021. So you could definitely say you've done that by the end of the year. That's one of the reasons I like NaNoWriMo, because I'm like, hey, I actually wrote that novel manuscript this year, which I've done a few times now. It's a rewarding thing to have ended the year strong that way.
Now, something else that I think is a natural thing to think about when you are starting to plan your next year is meetings. You will notice that this is the time, if you work for an organization, when all of a sudden you get a million meeting invites for the next year because whoever schedules the meetings realizes, oh, I have to send out the Outlook invites for 2022 because maybe I don't know. I don't know if it's just where we work, but I have a suspicion this is not an uncommon thing. And that hopefully, maybe if you hear this, should prompt you to think about, if you have any control over it, do these meetings need to be monthly? Do they need to be an hour? Do they need to include everyone on the list? Maybe just as someone is sending that, you might want to push back if you think it's totally appropriate. Hey, these meetings are really useful to me, but I think we could complete the agenda in 20 minutes if we circulated a document prior. This would be a great time because people are probably a little bit more open to change as they feel like they're opening a new quote unquote series of these meetings. And it kind of makes sense to defensively work on your calendar before it's kind of all laid out for you because it's a lot harder to fight back against a meeting that's next week. But when it's like March of 2022, people are probably going to be more open to thinking about that. So this would be a good time to do it.
Yeah. I mean, just the whole idea of having to renew the problem with standing meetings is that they never have to earn their place on the calendar. They happen because it's Tuesday. And so if you get this wonderful opportunity to say like, oh, wait, it isn't scheduled in Tuesday for perpetuity. I've always wondered about that. Like, I don't use electronic calendars really. So like, do you have the option to have the Tuesday meeting continue forever?
You do, but and again, I can only speak to like where I've been. Usually some sort of administrator, like an assistant or something will send out like a series and it will include like a year's worth. So it'll be like, accept the meetings from January 1st to December, whatever.
Gotcha.
So I think maybe that is designed to prevent like infinite meetings.
What is it? It's electronic, so why not? I mean, it could go through to, but where would your endpoint be? Like, is there some point where the calendar stops? I mean, there wouldn't have to be.
I think the reason that they don't do them all at once is because sometimes there might be irregularities, some leaders on vacation, and they want to be able to like look ahead, kind of like versus having to move something later. So they might work with the head boss and say, hey, do these 12 months work? Okay, great, click. And they'll all be Tuesday, except for some month they've moved to Thursday because whoever can't make it. So again, I'm sure it's probably different everywhere, but I also think the practice of like block scheduling a year's worth or 6 months worth is probably pretty common and should be an invitation to think about what is being, because that's a lot of time and a lot of people's
I'm just pondering somebody's electronic calendar having that Tuesday 10 a.m. meeting in the year 3000. It's like, guess what? The first Tuesday of January is on the 8th.
That's so sad.
I know. Because the thing with these recurring meetings, again, is like, the truth is there will come a Tuesday where this meeting will not happen. And even before that, maybe there's a Tuesday when you're not at it. So it's like all things do end, even if this meeting is scheduled in perpetuity. So we just have to decide at which point it is going to end. And maybe that is earlier. Maybe it is January of this year where you decide that we don't actually need to meet every Tuesday at 10 a.m. So take that upon yourself to try. But one thing you do want to schedule for the upcoming year is your vacation. So Sarah, this is, you look at this, right? Tell us about the process.
I love those spreads in your planner where you can like, my Erin Condren actually goes all the way till the end of 2023, which is like glorious. Like they're tiny, like little mini boxes, but it's enough space so I can like think ahead. I mean, I don't think that far ahead because actually I don't have a school calendar that goes that far ahead as of now, but at least I certainly already know spring break for 2022. I've already started thinking about where we want to travel in the summer of 2022. We are thinking about sleepaway camp this summer, so figuring out those dates in 2022. And this is the time to claim your vacation days. Now, it's a little trickier depending on if you have a call schedule that doesn't get put out. So the only thing I can't do that's a little bit frustrating is like I have a goal that, and we'll get to this in a soon episode, of doing like a little mini getaway with Josh every quarter or so. But those are a little harder to schedule because they kind of depend on which weekends he's working. And I don't want to necessarily block that off ahead of time because there is some flexibility. But I also find that when I don't, it does become hard. So I guess maybe the answer is just to be like, those are days you won't be on call, period, done.
Well, I mean, and especially popular dates. So presumably, if you are in an organization where most of the people are local, you are not the only person who has kids in that school district. So if you are interested in traveling somewhere on the school breaks, you need to probably figure that out earlier rather than later because there will be a high demand for those dates. And I'm not saying that you get all of them because that wouldn't really be fair to your colleagues either. But if there's one in particular that you want to aim for, you should probably go for that and get that on the calendar very soon. And Q4 is a good time to make that happen.
Yes. All right. Should we get to our question here?
Yeah, I think
it's a cute question.
Yeah. So here, I will read it because Sarah has her first answer for it. So this person writes in, my oldest started kindergarten 2 weeks ago. So I guess this is like a fall themed question right there. Probably much of the art we're talking about is also fall themed. So anyway, she came home the first day with a coloring sheet of my first day of kindergarten. We oohed and awed appropriately and put it on the fridge. Since then, she now has a folder that comes home every day with 2 to 3 worksheets and drawings and so forth. I love to have her show me what's in your folder as a way to hear about what she's learning at school, but I am already over the volume of kindergarten worksheets on our kitchen table. Of course, the idea that we might throw out what she just worked hard on all day is a non-starter with the kindergartner. So what do you do with the schoolwork? Do you keep it for a while? Do you sneak it into the recycling bin at night? Have the child choose something for the fridge? So Sarah, what's the policy in your house on kid art and the sheer volume of creative work that comes home?
Well, first, I have to say I love the show me what's in your folder as a way to hear about what they're learning at school. So I applaud that. I think that is wonderful. But I do not even entertain the expectation that most art is for keeping. It's about the process. And I think a kindergartner is old enough usually to understand that if we kept every single piece of artwork that every kid brought home, we would literally be wading into a sea of crumpled paper when we walked into the house, because over time that would accumulate to an incredible extent. One way to do it might be that you take a bin and I don't do this. I'm a lot more harsh and just my kids don't seem to be that attached to it. So unless something's special, personally, I just put it in the recycle bin and I really never hear a complaint. In fact, probably they don't even notice what I do keep. But if your kid is more sensitive, one thing you might do is to put it all in a bin for the month and then have a little time together at the end of the month where they pick out like their two favorites for keeping. Anything that's like a runner up, maybe you snap a picture of it with your phone and you say goodbye to the rest of it. And then you make a big deal over the stuff that you are keeping and how, ooh, how cool is it? We can see your progress throughout the year. I doubt that even your kindergartner is that attached to every single worksheet that they completed. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
I make a distinction between art and like those little worksheets. Like I don't need every single, math thing with a star on it, or, that they showed that they could write the letter A. I will keep something if it's really cute or interesting. Like if it's we kept one of Alex's first writing the letter A things because he had to then illustrate things. It was so cute, little cartoon illustrations of these, you know, it was not the way you would have thought to automatically illustrate a few things. And so I was like, oh, that's really kind of fun. So I keep stuff like that. I would, I'd probably bias more toward keeping stuff just because I feel like I don't like the idea of throwing kids' stuff out if they worked hard on it. Like, I'd be pissed off if somebody threw out my notebooks or threw out my stuff. And so, I mean, you can have some sort of organization for it. Like, so we have some filing cabinets in the basement, like some bins where we do put a lot of the art. So if you're not saving the worksheets, you can, in fact, save a fair amount of pieces of paper. And then, maybe eventually you'll go through it and say, like, okay, this is the stuff we want to keep and not. But I don't know. If your kid cares about it, I think you're going to have more problems than it's worth by like, I'm forcing you to throw away everything but two pieces. It's just you're going to have a meltdown every single month if your kid cares about it. And why is it only going to be two pieces? Like, why are you forcing instead of like four if she really liked four that month? So I would encourage people to like understand your kid here. If Sarah's is fine with her throwing out, beautiful. But if your kid is not fine with it, like, don't make this an issue. Like, keep the extra three pieces of paper and like stop making it into a deal where like if your house doesn't look like a minimalist paradise, the Pinterest gods are going to come after you. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox
Our
there.
house does not look like a minimalist parent. That's so funny. No, I guess it's true. I mean, I'd be informed by if there was a kid that cared, but thus far, mine don't.
Yeah.
I'm the one who saves it from like.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they just kind of like leave it wherever, and then they leave it on the floor, and I'll say something like, "Do you want that?" No. Like, okay. So then I'm the one who actually keeps like I have like boxes for each kid and folders and stuff that I do choose to rescue. So it's almost the opposite issue. So I guess maybe that's true. I don't have as much insight into a kid that feels this
Yeah,
passionate.
I would also point out that this is not perpetual. Like by the time your kids are in, I mean, like fourth grade, almost everything they're doing is like non-art. If it's art, it's going to be special. Like they only produce like four big projects a year. And a lot of their work is online. So it's already saved to their Google Drive or something. So if you have two children and you're only really going to get the artwork from late preschool to second, third grade, maybe you just don't need to worry quite so much about like keeping it the minimalist that you would. I know we have people who disagree. like crazy with this. But, anyway, that's my piece about it. That it's a time limited phenomenon.
I wonder if my kids make more art than yours.
That could be. That could be.
We'll go through like a ream of paper. Like it's like Genevieve will like write on 20 pages in one sitting regularly. I guess that's not very eco-friendly.
Yeah. We haven't been doing as much art at home lately. I think yeah, I mean, I almost even miss that. They just do other things, which is fine. You read, you do sports, whatever. But yeah, I've found that it doesn't continue at the pace that it does for the first weeks of kindergarten for the rest of your life. All right, so let's go to our love of the week. Sarah, what's yours this week?
Yeah, so this TV, I don't know, I may have mentioned it already, but I don't care. I loved it so much. The TV series White Lotus on HBO, so much fun. It was like candy. And we actually went back and started watching Enlightenment, which came out in 2011 and was also created by Mike White, who's a genius. And that has been fascinating in and of itself because 2011 was very different. And you forget, it doesn't sound like that long ago, but like nobody had an iPhone. And there was a singer, and I was like, who is that? And I was like, oh, that's Regina Spektor. And I was like obsessed with Regina Spektor 10 years ago, but I don't know, she faded into the song. I have not thought of that name for anyway, it was a fun little time capsule and it seems just as fun. So there you go. Enlightenment with Laura Dern and White Lotus.
So speaking of having fewer papers, one thing our elementary school switched to a few years ago is they used to send home a Thursday folder, a Thursday envelope, usually with your youngest child, or it was the oldest child. I don't remember, but if you had multiple kids, you only got one. But it would have all the announcements from the office and from the Home and School Association. And so it's new paper coming home every week. And a couple of years ago, they switched to doing it electronically. So if you have a flyer about something in the community, you send in a PDF and they include the PDF in the Thursday folder. And so, you have to look at it. And maybe people had to get themselves in the habit of doing it, but I do in fact look at that folder online every Thursday just to see if there's an announcement of, say, a cute pumpkin patch that we want to go visit to bring this back to our fall theme. Or if there's going to be testing on a certain day that I should know about or whatever. But it just generates a lot less paper that needs to go in the recycling bin. So, hey, we're all in favor of that. So, yay! Save those trees, which are turning fancy fall colors now. We've been talking all things fall in this episode, how to get cozy and then how to position ourselves in Q4 for a great new year. We will be back next week with more on making work and life fit together.
Thanks for listening. You can find me, Sarah, at theshoebox.com or at @the_shoebox on Instagram.
And you can find me, Laura, at lauravanderkam.com. This has been the Best of Both Worlds podcast. Please join us next time for more on making work and life work together.